Hey, Mom.
Hey, dear. What are you watching?
Oh, I'm not watching
What
anything.
are you watching?
Uncharted 2 Among Thieves.
Yeah? Cool. Great graphics. Rewind. Start from the beginning.
The whole thing?
I want to see how it starts. Come
Well,
on.
it's not a short. It's like 11 hours.
Nothing else to do. Rewind.
Start from the beginning.
Now I understand why you're in the basement all day, every day. It's cool shit.
My family and I bought the PlayStation 3 in late 2008, and I was only 11 years old. It was a time where buying a next-gen system like the PS3 meant that I would finally be able to play a plethora of hardcore, realistic, mature-rated video games. I mean, it's not that I wasn't allowed to play M-rated games, but from my perspective, the PS3 was a console for big boys, and that means I had to play some big boy games. On the back of the system's box, my mom pointed out this game that was being advertised called Uncharted Drake's Fortune. So we drove to Movie Gallery, which believe it or not was a thing back then, and rented the first Uncharted game. It's a great experience and was, and still is, the perfect game to introduce someone to the world of gaming. And to others that already know how awesome video games are, it showed them the potential as to how good a game could look on the PlayStation 3. But regardless, I beat the game and I loved it. Almost immediately after I beat it, I saw a trailer for the game's sequel and I was very excited to be hyped for a video game series that, as of now, I basically grew up with. After watching the jaw-dropping demo of the game at E3, and after several more months of waiting, I finally got my hands on the magical sequel, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. After beating the game, I almost immediately realized that Uncharted 2 had changed my life forever. It showed me the potential video games have at telling immersive, meaningful stories, and it reminded me that video games are truly unique experiences. Uncharted 2 is the reason BathroomGamers exists in the first place, and is the reason I am where I am today. But after taking away the nostalgia-filled memories, and the fact that I wasn't much of an experienced gamer back in 2009, in the most unbiased way possible, I can confidently say that Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is still one of the best video games ever made. And here's why. Uncharted 2 takes place a few years after the events of the first game. You wake up with blood all over you, sitting face up on a derailed train that is hanging off the edge of a snowy mountain thousands of feet above what normal people would call the ground. This is one of the best intros in all of video games, but it probably doesn't make much sense, does it? Let's back it up a bit. An old friend, Harry Flynn, finds you and shows you a picture of an oil lamp that is supposed to be important somehow. With Drake being as smart as he is, he learns that this lamp may hold the secret as to where the old famous Marco Polo left all of his treasure. After a few hours of learning new things, the main goal of the game is to discover Shangri-La. Just like the original game, Uncharted 2's story is simple and doesn't contain many plot twists or many moments that narratively shake things up. However, it's the characters and the way in which the story is presented that makes Uncharted 2's story so memorable. Unlike the first game though, Among Thieves is one of the most well-paced games ever. There is never a dull moment, and every event moves smoothly towards the next one. The characters and their respective actors have not only risen to standards that video games should match for a good few years, but even 7 years later, games are still being compared to Uncharted 2 when it comes to fleshed out characters and performances. All returning characters have the same actors reprising their roles, and even when you're including the new cast, all the performances are top of the line, most notably Nolan North playing Nathan Drake. Drake is even more lovable, hilarious, and entertaining than he was before, and part of this is because of the new relationships we can explore. His old pal Harry Flynn is like that lovable asshole we're all friends with, Schaefer is wise and quirky, and Tenzin is an enjoyable companion to have around you, and it's impressive how fleshed out and likable he is, even considering that we can never understand a word he says. One of the biggest new characters is Chloe, and Nate's relationship with her gets pretty serious pretty quickly, that is, until Nate finds Elena partway through the adventure. Some of the funniest, most entertaining moments of the game are the conversations Nate and Chloe have, and the unconventional love triangle that it sets up is equally entertaining, especially because the game doesn't force it in the story. And then there's the main bad guy, Lazarevich. While he is your typical foreign, super strong bad guy, Naughty Dog has managed to make him intimidating and interesting, even considering how cliche of a character he is. Elena is just as lovable as she was before, and it's even more enjoyable to watch the two be around each other after the game established that the two had quite a history together. And your best friend Victor goddamn Sullivan is also returned, although after the first few chapters, he practically disappears until the end of the game. While it is unfortunate that we don't get to see much of Sully, the rest of the characters and their relationships are so good, you end up forgetting that Sully exists in the first place. This isn't something I need to say, but I want to say this because I love talking about it. Uncharted 2 is still an unbelievably gorgeous game. It is without a doubt the best looking game of its time, and no game even came close to matching or surpassing its visual presentation until Uncharted 3 came out in 2011. 7 years later, Uncharted 2 is still a marvel to look at. It looks just as good as some of the games released on PS4 and Xbox One. Unlike the original game, you're going to be traveling to many different locations, and they are all jaw-droppingly beautiful, like the worn-torn streets in Nepal, the snowy mountains, and the local cities of Tibet, and a few other late-game locations I won't spoil for you. When you compare the graphics of the original game to the dense jungles of Borneo in this game, it's almost impossible to comprehend that Uncharted 2 was released only 2 years after the original. Color is everywhere in this game, and the sheer scope and attention to detail in everything is a real feast for the eyes. The facial animation is also one of the first games since Half-Life 2 in which you could truly feel the characters' emotions without having them speak. The animations, as well as how the game runs, is also top-notch, which helps make Uncharted 2 one of the most polished games ever made. Nate will shield his face whenever he gets close to fire, he'll stumble when he's wounded, and the many contextual interactions with the environment almost look scripted. The cinematography is also top of the line, and the in-game camera also deserves a special mention. I really didn't need to describe anything about the game's presentation because what you see is what you get, and this is easily one of the best looking games of all time. And to no surprise, the game's music is better than it has ever been. In every Uncharted game, controlling Drake feels a tad different, and I'll explain how he feels in the other games during those reviews. Among Thieves is the best feeling Uncharted game. During platforming segments, combat, and when you're simply walking around, you have complete control of your character. I know this wasn't the most interesting thing I've ever said before, but after recently playing the original game, Uncharted 2 plays like an absolute dream. As you may already know, Uncharted's formula is made up of 3 distinct gameplay segments: the climbing parts, the shooting parts, and the puzzle-solving parts. Unlike the first game though, instead of feeling like 3 different gameplay segments, Uncharted 2 manages to combine everything together to create one cohesive, smooth experience. All the gameplay mechanics merge together throughout the game, so there'll be many instances in which you'll be climbing and shooting, climbing and solving puzzles, and solving puzzles while shooting bad guys. First, let's talk about platforming. Fundamentally, platforming is almost exactly the same as it was in the first game. You climb the same, shimmy the same, drop the same, swing the same, leap and jump the same. Basically, you do the exact same things, but because you have much more precise control over Drake, climbing is more enjoyable and feels a lot better. The level design this time around is stellar, and the moments of the game where you have to climb don't feel as gimmicky. Instead of seeing a distinct trail that was clearly intended for me to climb on, I felt as if I picked random parts of the environment to climb, even though throughout the majority of the game, there's usually only one path you can take. But there are some really insane platforming segments, like when you have to climb a giant dagger, climb up a hanging train, the whole chapter with Tenzin, and throughout all the moments in which you have to climb and kill bad guys all at the same time. Uncharted 2's combat is also relatively the same. You carry 2 weapons, use cover constantly, shoot bad guys, and beat the crap out of them. Taking cover feels much better now, and switching from cover to cover is seamless and effortless. Shooting feels better as well, and the added benefit to zoom in with some weapons helps as well. Some of the new weapons aren't typical, but also fun to use. However, the AK-47 is still a terrible weapon, and unfortunately, every now and then, enemies still take way too much damage. While the gunplay may be simple compared to other games, it's polished and it's always a lot of fun. One of the biggest additions to combat is the melee system, which is more fun, responsive, and cooler to look at. Basically, just keep on pressing the square button. When the enemy has you in a hold or is about to hit you, just click triangle. Simple, flashy, and responsive. There's also a simple stealth system, but because of the game's dumb AI during these situations, and the fact that once you're spotted, you can't hide again, it's not the most fleshed out addition the game has to offer. One of the reasons Uncharted is so highly regarded in the video game industry is with its incredible set pieces. While some of these moments may look like gorgeous cutscenes, what you see right now is footage of myself actually playing the game. While some of the coolest moments in some games take place during the cutscenes, in Uncharted, you're the one controlling what's going on, and some of what happens is almost unbelievable. Here are just a few examples. You'll be chased by a helicopter with everything breaking around you. You will be inside a building that is falling down and you gotta jump out of it. You'll be running away from a vehicle in real time. You will be climbing a derailed train, and one of the best levels ever put in a video game, you'll be fighting and climbing on a moving train. Uncharted 2 blurs the lines as to what's physically possible in a video game, and it creates some of the best moments ever to be found in any video game. Your mind will be blown, and you will love every second of it. It'll take you around 11 hours to beat the game. Replay value consists of beating the game at harder difficulties, finding all the little bits of treasure hidden throughout the game, and, what I like to do most, show the game off to all my friends and family. While the PS3 version of the game does contain a multiplayer mode that was a surprising amount of fun, the PS4 version that comes in the Nathan Drake collection does not. But really, whoever played Uncharted for the multiplayer? Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is a simple game. It tells a story about one of the greatest characters in fiction searching for a lost city. Throughout the game, you'll interact with equally interesting characters across many locations that all look absolutely stunning. You'll also partake in some of the best, most insanely creative moments you will ever experience in a video game. It's simple, really. You have to play Uncharted 2. Whether you get it for the PS3 or get the Nathan Drake collection that contains all 3 games for the PS4, Uncharted 2 is a video game that everyone should play, whether you're an experienced gamer or not. Although I will say, the adventure will be more enjoyable and feel a lot more personal if you play the first game beforehand. This is an incredible experience that showcases the potential video games have at telling unique stories and letting you do things you've never imagined doing. This game has changed my life forever, and it's also changed the video game industry as we know it. Uncharted 2 is meant for everyone. Uncharted 2 is one of the greatest video games ever made. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves has the small honor of being BathroomGamers' very first 10 out of 10. For more Uncharted videos in the future, or for more funny intros and little sketches, please be a doll and subscribe to BathroomGamers. Thank you for watching, and stay fresh!